All right, today we're going to check out the new S-Line DD1 compared to a Paradigm and the Horizon DD1 and see how they fly and what we should use them for. Oh yeah. You need to go to wherever this little flag is going to pop up, be able to check out the DD1s you're going to get at the Armory Disc Golf and check that out. So we're just going to do 300 feet with these, about 350 to 400 and then 400 to 450. One Anhyzer, one Hyzer, and then one straight shot. So on this first one, it's 300 feet. I start off with the Paradigm. It just kind of holds out straight, even at 300 feet. Slight, small turn, and then has a really soft fade at the end, nothing with a lot of flare. The Horizon DD1, that one a little lower, a little bit of Anhyzer, and it holds out really well at only 300, so it actually seems to not fight back over too quick. And then the S-Line. This one, a little higher, not as much Anhyzer, but just a little, holds out straight and then has a pretty big sweeping fade with more of a flare at the end. And then we push it to about that tree being 372. So the Paradigm, I threw it on Hyzer. You see it flipped up, even had quite a bit of turn because there's a slight headwind in that direction. It's just nice because it doesn't have a lot of movement left to right. It'll move, but it's not super big and like drastic. Whereas the Horizon DD1, once I saw it past the tree, I wanted to take a bit off. So you see at about 370, put it up flat, little bit of turn, but then you see because of its height, it has quite a bit of room for that bigger swinging fade at the end. And the S-Line DD1, and so I throw it flattened out right. And even at about 370, there's not a whole lot of turn on the disc, even into that little bit of a headwind. Now the Paradigm on this one, I'm trying to push it 400 or farther. I throw this Paradigm with not enough Hyzer, but it really has, even with that much room in the air, doesn't have enough stability to come out at the end. So it just kind of finishes on that Anhyzer angle at about 380. And then I went into the Horizon DD1. So this one, I throw it slight Hyzer. And you see with the height, it flips up, pushes out right, and then it fades back in pretty hard. But you see it does have a bit more of a drift when you push it further. And then the S-Line, you see at that distance, it kind of does the same thing, slight Hyzer, and then with enough room up high, it has a good, just a controllable amount of turn. But you see it swings back into its fade pretty quickly and a little bit quicker than the Horizon DD3, which is not, or DD1, which is not what I was expecting. And then we went into this little Anhyzer shot, and you'll notice I Anhyzer the Paradigm. You see it holds it out and never really fights out into its fade too much, but it does hold that line. Whereas you see the Horizon DD1, I put that one on a decently steep angle, and so it fights out and even fights to flat and has a flatter finish there at the end. Whereas the S-Line DD1, that one I had it a little lower and tighter, and this is where you'll notice it's slightly more stable than the Horizon DD1 because it fights out of the Anhyzer angle, and at the end of the flight path, it gets and catches edge a little bit. So then I tried to go into this little Hyzer shot. What I'm trying to play with here is the idea that you're not wanting a disc that's going to have too much skip, but so you're not wanting something aggressive like a DD3 that has a thicker rim and it's going to get a lot more movement left and right. And so you're looking for more of a 340 to 380 foot going for this gap. And so in trying to correct that Hyzer angle, and so you'll see it holds this angle all the way towards the end when it comes back on camera, meaning it held this angle all the way out and pushed really far before swinging back in. Whereas the S-Line, and you see, I think it gets into its fade and pulls into it a lot quicker than the Horizon DD1, and then has about that same skip. And then this last one, I'm trying to just go through this tunnel and imagine this left side being all out of bounds, which I'll highlight, and this right side being all out of bounds, trying to make it all the way to the end. And so I start with the Paradigm on flat. It just pushes right and then drifts and never really comes back. And it only pushes to about 280, 300 before hitting that hill and kind of cut rolling right. Whereas the Horizon DD3, that one I did the same shot. So this is where we see this one is a bit more stable because it pushes right, but then still has a little bit more stability. And then this S-Line DD1, and it pushes out right, but you see that it is more stable, and this is where you see that it is more stable, so it pushes out right, but quickly just kind of corrects itself and carries straight the entire time, all the way down to that 330 gap. And so overall, what I immediately noticed was that the Paradigm has a lot less movement left and right. And so, but it is pretty unstable, especially when you're pulling it over 400 feet, whereas the Horizon DD1, that one does have more movement. At slower speeds, it seems more stable than the Paradigm, but at higher arm speeds and distance, it has a lot more movement in the air, which you saw on that 400 plus shot. And the S-Line DD1, this one seemed to be more stable than the Horizon. It seems like it doesn't have as much movement, or when it does, it wants to swing back into the fade a little quicker than the Horizon DD1. The place that this DD1 would have would be, so there's the FD, the CD1, and then the Paradigm when I have a bit more like distance to cover and I don't want a lot of movement. But for me, or like, yeah, for me trying to throw over 400 on certain shots, I would want to use the DD1 when I have a bit of a headwind, most likely. It's neither here nor there, but it could be here and there. So let me know what you guys think, and thanks again for watching.